Hello everyone, glad to be back. Thank you for joining me for another video. First of all, let's take care of the business of the day. I want to give a shout out to Ryan Murphy, who is supporting the channel, of course, by participating. And he guessed that the player last video was Janzaya Abdulmalik. She's a Kazakhstani international master rated around 2470. And she's also WGM, so women's grandmaster. So again, shout out to Ryan Murphy, for listening to the channel and chiming in and let me know who the female player of the day was. So here's another one up here. If you know who it is, let me know. Whoever's the first, let me know. I'm gonna shout them out and give them the respect that is due. So what are we doing today? Today we're going to look at a little Dutch defense here between Vladimir Kramnik with the white pieces and Hikaru Nakamura with the black pieces, right? Two very popular and famous players. This game took place in 2010 at the Vikings tournament. So the game started out D4, F5. I don't know if you remember, but Nakamura was playing the Dutch defense for a while. He had kind of sparked a little revival here. I also want you to know that Kramnik also played the Dutch defense as a junior player. So when Kramnik was around 18, 19, he was rated around 2,500, and he played about 10 games in the Dutch. He only had one loss. He had several wins, one loss, and a string of draws. So he has experience in this line. So G3, Knight F6, Bishop G2, G6. This announces the Leningrad variation of the Dutch. For you new players out there, the difference between the Leningrad variation of the Dutch and classical variation of the Dutch is the placement of the dark square bishop. All right, the dark square bishop is deemed to have better prospects in the Leningrad Dutch on G7, whereas in the classical variation, the bishop has a quiet career on the E7 square. All right, so masters that were working on these different variations, figured the Leningrad system is a more modern system and gives that bishop more scope. So that's the main difference, is the placement of the bishop. The dark square bishop that is on G7 as opposed to E7 in the classical. Let's keep going. C4 from Kramnik, bishop G7, knight C3, castle, knight F3, D6. So we have mainline Dutch here, castle, and C6. Just note here, not getting into a lot of theory, but note here that other options are queen E8, knight C6. Knight C6 runs into a little trouble after D5. Black does not quite secure equality. He tried knight E5. He tries knight E5 and knight E5. There's some games by Tao from the black side in the 60s and 70s. This variation, knight C6, is never really given full equality to black. White's attack on the queen side just gets in before black's does on the king side. But you could give it a shot or look it up. Reason why I highlighted that red box is because the difference between this and the King's Indian is that the knight, after being attacked on D5, can't go to E7 as it does in the King's Indian, where it can participate in future attack on the king side. Instead, it has to either go to E5, where it's quickly traded off, or it goes to A5. All right. Other variation is queen E8, which is very aggressive. The idea, along with knight C6, main idea is to get in the move E5, which is a must. And also, it has the idea of playing moves like H6, G5 later, and then moving the queen over to H4 and attacking on the queen side. This move leads to very sharp games. Of course, white will play queen moves like queen B3, knight D5 at some point, knight B5 at some point, right? Attacking the C pawn. So C6 is like the most solid out of these lines positionally. Again, black has the same idea to play E5, except he'll bring the queen to A5 and then support the E5 push from there, right, in most cases. Rook B1 by Kramnik. So Kramnik, another idea is just B4 this right away too. But again, we're trying to not get too deep into the theory. So Rook B1, again with the idea of B4, B5. After all, black has created a hook in the position, by playing c6. So b4, b5 gives white an opportunity to open the position. Also, this move plays against the idea of queen a5, because if queen a5, then b4, queen d8, and queen b3, and white has accelerated his queenside attack, and black has nothing on the other side of the board as in any form of counterplay. He has absolutely nothing, so this will be good for white. Therefore, knight e4 is played by Nakamura, and what this does is put the delay on the move b4. As you can see, the knight will be hanging on c3, or at least I hope you can see that. So therefore, Kramnik played queen c2, putting more pressure on e4. Of course, black would love it if white played knight takes e4, because f takes e4, knight g5, and then d5. That's another idea behind the move c6, is supporting d5 in the center. This would give black a nice pawn chain leading to white's king side, and also open f-file to boot. Who would have thought, right? That is awesome. I wish I could get that every time. Of course, Kramnik's not going for that. Queen c2. So Nakamura plays knight takes c3, b takes c3. This opens up lines for white, but black gets his e5 push in. All right, so a little trade-off. Now, rook d1. Interesting also is for Kramnik just to play d takes here, opening up the position while black is still behind in development. Now, of course, he takes on the double pawns to boot, but he gets some open lines and good piece play. All right, but a player like Kramnik, this is not his style. I could see a player like Kasparov playing like this, but not a Kramnik or a Karpov or Capablanca type player. Kramnik is like in that family of players where he wants to keep things little more solid. But it's just an idea. He plays rook d1. That's the positional move. Okay, opposing the queen there on d8. Nakamura keeps the position closed. E4, knight g5. Very provocative because, of course, black does not want the white knight hanging around g5. So this provokes the advance of pawns on the king side. So Kramnik is saying, hey, come and get me. I know you want to expand on the king side. I know you want to attack over here. Come on and get me. So h6, knight h3, g5. G5 keeps the knight from returning back to the center via f4. So g5. And now f3, hitting the center. d5. So now black is fully committed here in the center. He's fully extended. He really can't bolster the center anymore with pawns. All right, so continuing on. So Kramnik plays knight f2. Again, this is a battle against e4. A battle for e4. Remember, this is very important to black because black has, by playing the move f5, he's made a stake for e4 right in the beginning. Right, he's paid a great price to get control of e4. What was that price? He was weakening his king side. f5 is a weakening move. There's no redeeming value to that move f5, but to have control over the center and namely e4 square, right? And then hopefully be able to attack on the king side in the future. All right. So if he loses control of e4 or doesn't gain an attack, all he has is the weakness to show for it. This is the great risk in playing the Dutch defense, especially against players like Kramnik, Petrosian, right? These positional players, Portish. Like if you look at these guys' games in the Dutch, I might have to do a video or a couple of videos where I show some. It depends on the interest, but certain guys you can't. That's why these openings get these reputations as being risky. It's like certain guys you can't play these openings against, right? They're just too strong. You're not gonna get the attack, and you're just gonna have a bunch of weakness in the wake, right? So here it is. So knight f2, king h8. So Naka has to get off the diagonal eventually, right? Because the position's gonna open up, and eventually a check is gonna sting. So typical move in the Dutch is move the king over to h8. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it's not even the right square to be on. Sometimes you wish you were on g8 still. C takes now. And now the double pawns actually come in handy for Kramnik because he has another pawn that hit the black center. So now Naka has to make an important decision because he can't hold e4 anymore. If he plays d takes e4 here, just f takes e4, f takes e4, e3. Okay, this is great for white. Therefore, he plays e3. It's a temporary pawn sacrifice. And Kramnik just plays knight d3. He doesn't give black the counterplay that he's looking for in the king side by playing a move like bishop takes e3, which could be met by f4 and opening, for the cost of a pawn, opening up the white king side. Because again, in these type of positions, pawn sacrifices, dynamic play is what is par for the course. So knight d3 instead, knight c6, and you can see, excuse me, that the knight and bishop both bearing down to d4. So bishop takes e3, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop takes d4 check, king to the corner, and now f4. So black is expanding, of course, and eventually he wants to open up the king side for white. He wants to play f takes g4. F takes g3. And also he shuts down the light square bishop. All right. And also if he puts white in a weird situation, like if white plays g4, then he just kills his own bishop, basically. All right. Here Kramnik plays rook b5. Even stronger is the c takes d5 here. Idea is queen takes d5, knight f4, and you're gonna make use of the bishop being pinned on d4. G takes, and you can see what's going on here already. Rook b4, bishop f5, queen d2, and then you just go into a superior ending. Much better for white. White is going to win that ending most of the times. Kramnik, however, chose rook b5, which is good also. And Naka played queen f6. Another idea he could have tried is, instead of queen f6, is just take here, f takes g3, but then rook to d5, queen f6, knight c5, forcing the trade of the bishop. Rook takes. And rook c7. This is also good for white. Again, notice the weakness of the diagonals. Rook's on the 7th rank. That pawn in h2 is going to fall eventually. It's hard for black to complete his development due to the pressure on the b7 pawn. All right, this is a precarious position. Bishop f5 again. Rook d5. Let's say queen f6, queen b3, again with pressure on b7. And then knight takes f4. That's always an ace up white sleeve. And let's say if bishop takes d5, knight takes d5, he can just afford to give up the exchange because that knight is so powerful. Queen g7, f4, bishop c5, queen c2, rook ae8, and then f5 again. Good for white. So Naka plays queen f6, rook d5. Another option for white is c takes d5, keeping the pressure on b7. All right. So rook d5, and now Naka plays bishop e6, which is an excellent looking move on paper, right? The kind of move you want to play, right? He's developing with the threat and he's connecting his rooks. However, tactically it doesn't work out because of the position of the bishop on d4. So Kramnik plays knight takes f4. Powerful move. And Naka has to play g takes f4. If he plays bishop d5 here, then knight e6. Knight g6 check. King g8. And you get back the exchange. and a good position. And again, let's go right into a winning endgame. So, G takes f4. Now the bishop meets an ignominious ending. And again, without that bishop, it's like that Leningrad bishop is very important. As you can see, look at the diagonal. Now only the black queen can really protect the king on the diagonal. All right, that's not what you want your queen to really have to do. F takes, H takes, rook G8, and now Kramnik's job is just to stop counterplay. Okay, consolidate. Rook F4, Queen G5, threatening G3. Rook H4. So now if Queen G3, Rook H6, check. Rook G6 then. Queen C3. Again, notice how when the queen left the diagonal, Kramnik jumped right on the diagonal. The A1, H8 diagonal, if you can't see what I'm talking about. That's the problem. When the bishop is gone, when you play moves like F5, you weaken the king side. This is what happens, right? Or what can happen. This is a possibility. This is understand the risk that you're taking and why grandmasters deem these type of openings as risky. When they say that opening's risky, these are the type of positions that they're talking about. F4, fantastic move. Why? Because it forces the trade of queens. All right, because basically black's only chance here is based on dynamism, attacking. Maybe white makes a mistake in time trouble or something like that. So when you get rid of the dynamic forces, the heavy pieces, right, that can deal checkmate in one blow, right, win a piece with one move, one mistake, you lessen your chances of losing. So after F4, queen takes G3, queen takes G3. Of course, Nakamura didn't want to do that, but what happens is if he moves the the queen away, then he loses the exchange here. So queen takes, rook takes, bishop takes B7. It's winning material. And now back to consolidating again for Kramnik. Bishop D3, strong move, holding the pawns. And of course, now Kramnik is going to trade his A pawn for the H pawn. And now he's just up 2 pawns, ready to push. And he starts pushing the C pawn. He gives up the F pawn on purpose because there's no way that Naka can stop this C pawn. When he goes to E8, nice little tactic here from Kramnik to end it. Here, Naka resigned because after rook takes F7, he'll have to give up rook for that pawn. So, for instance, king takes F7. There's the exchange right there. Bishop G6, king F8, and then just bishop takes E8. And then you have 2 pieces versus the rook. So this is why Nakamura resigned. So fantastic game by Kramnik. I like how he dealt with Nakamura's Dutch defense at the time. I hope you guys enjoyed it out there. Again, if you know who this player is up there, let me know. I'll shout you out. Please check the links below. There'll be some opening books and DVDs based on what we talked about today, which is the Dutch defense. Just check the links. You might see something that you like or you're interested in. Also, please support my channel via donation. That's in the link box below. And get in those comments. I want to hear you guys, man. Like what you guys have to say. What you guys think about just chess in general. Players, different opening systems, whatever. How chess is going where you live or whatever. Are they playing over the board tournaments yet? What's going on? So with that said, I want to thank you guys again for listening. And like I said, get in those comment box so I could talk to you and see what's going on. And I'll see you guys on the next video.